Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 514 of the Stable Scoop Show, the Horse Radio Network's Equestrian Roundtable show. Our sponsors this episode are Arena Saddles and you, our listeners. I'm Glenn the Geek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of the Horses in the Morning show, the longest-running daily horse podcast in the world. Welcome to the Equestrian Roundtable, and every roundtable I invite two industry leaders or fellow hosts or important people from the horse world, and I also invite a very important listener, in this case one of our tremendous auditors, and they're here to tackle hot topics of the day. This show gets a little more serious than our other shows, especially Horses in the Morning, but that's what it's meant for. It's meant to be a discussion show. I'll be your host and moderator, and I'm sure that I will have a few opinions occasionally, but most of the panelists, they're just going to lead the way tonight. If you're watching live, welcome. It's always fun to watch live. You can comment, so the comments are right below here, and we want to see you comment right now and say where you're from, and the panelists can also see the comments so they can see where you're from. Right above me, there should be a little message that says, if you click on this, the panelists will then be able to see your names. So you can click on that too. So Jennifer's joining us from Michigan, I believe. So, and a bunch of other people are popping in here too. So welcome to the show. Please comment on what we're talking about tonight. That's why it's an advantage to join us live over listening on the Stable Scoop podcast, which this audio will be put out on tomorrow. So if you miss any part of this, if you can't catch the whole thing, you can catch the rest of it on the Stable Scoop podcast. We have Brooklyn, New York in the house with Electra is joining us. This show is every other Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern Time, and tonight, joining us for this roundtable, I would love to introduce our panelists, and we have host of the fox hunting episode on Horses in the Morning, our very own Tara Tibbets. Hi, Tara.
Hello. Oscar's here temporarily.
Who's that?
This is Oscar. He's my Russell Terrier mix.
And Tara, tell everybody how much of a crazy dog person you are.
I have 10.
10 dogs. Okay, imagine that, people. 10 dogs in the house. How much dog food do you feed in a week?
I have no idea.
Nor does she want to know.
Nope.
Doesn't want to know that at all. All right, coming up next, and Tara, of course, as I said, is host of the fox hunting episode we do on Horses in the Morning once a month. Been doing that a couple years, right?
Yeah, I think we're into the third year.
We talked about it, as a matter of fact, at the World Equestrian Games in, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2018. Yep. So I remember sitting at a bar talking about that. That's where all good ideas come
I went
from.
Fox hunting while I was in Tryon.
That's right. And next up, we have another host here on the Horse Radio Network, and she does a show called Rein in Your Herd, and her name is April Hartman. Hi, April.
Hi, Glenn.
We have to congratulate April, Tara, because she announced today that she's pregnant with her second baby, a little boy, right?
Yeah, yes, yep. We're expecting a little boy at the end of June.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you're both in Texas.
Yep.
Yes.
So, April, where part of Texas are you in?
We're at Fort Hood, so like an hour north of Austin.
Got it. And nice area. Do you like it?
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I like it a lot. I like the weather for sure. Right now, anyways, in the wintertime.
And you don't have to know any German living there, do you?
Yeah, no. I've
Tara,
forgotten
what part
most
are you
of it
in?
now.
Where are you at?
I am northwest of Fort Worth.
Oh, okay, cool. So you get to go to a lot of cool horsey stuff right down the street from you?
I moved here just because of it.
Oh, cool. Very good. And then we have one of our tremendous auditors. Our auditors are like our super fans. They pay as little as $3 a month to join the group and be part of the party that goes on in the private auditor room. There's about 500 of them in there. And she's representing all listeners tonight. No pressure. But we have Lindsey with us. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Lindsey also has the designation here. She's done a lot of different things with horses, and one of those topics is going to come up tonight, but she is a mounted archer as well. And you actually started that from hearing it on our show, Horses in the Morning, and then went out and did it, right?
I did. I heard an interview, it would have been at least 4 years ago now, with someone on Horses in the Morning, and I thought, that sounds really awesome. So I found the nearest clinic to me and loved it so much, I decided I was just going to have to start my own club because I wasn't going to drive that far to the nearest club. And yeah, so that's what I did, and started the Mounted Archers of the Potomac in 2017.
Terrific. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that kind of topic a little bit later on in the show. But Lindsey, before we get started, I'm so glad you're here because I can promote something that was just announced a couple hours ago. And you can expect barking because all of us have dogs. So there will be barking throughout the day. But there's something very exciting is we're going to be doing our third Horse Lovers Cruise. And who doesn't need a cruise right now? This is going to be February, 1 year from now in 2022. This time we're upgrading. Last time Lindsey was on the cruise and we were on a smaller ship. And the way it works is smaller ships get shorter itineraries, so 4 or 5 night cruises. And we've never done a long itinerary before because a lot of horse people can't get away, but all of us were itching for a big ship. Well, this is the second largest cruise ship in the world. So that's what we're doing next year. It's on February 13th. It's Harmony of the Seas. And we will be traveling to Antigua and a couple other ports. It's a 7-night cruise. You can go to horseradionetwork.com/cruise and you'll find out all the details there. I'll put that in the comments as well. So you'll find all the details there. We would love for you to join us. We had about 50 last year, right, Lindsey?
That sounds right.
Yeah. Did you have a good time?
Oh my gosh, we had the best time. We still talk about it all the time. And all the pictures have been coming up on my Facebook memories for the last few days because it was just about a year ago now. And so glad we got that in before COVID. It was a fabulous trip.
We had just started hearing inklings of COVID at the time we got on the boat, and we were all like, I don't know what this is. Who cares? Let's go. So we really didn't know at that point.
The timing worked out really well.
So would you go again?
Absolutely. We're planning on signing up.
You know, I kind of wasn't planning on doing one next year just because of everything that's going on, but we all should have vaccines by then, hopefully. And things will be maybe back a little bit more toward normal. But so many of the past cruisers from the last 2 cruises were asking when we were going to do it again. So it was like, okay, I'll book it. But we're going on a big ship this time. This thing has 24 pools and 24 restaurants. So
do you go to a different restaurant for every meal?
You could.
That's
Literally. You could. There's also 3 sea days on this, which is a little different than our other cruises. Because with a ship this big, there's so much to do. You want sea days. You don't want to be in port every day because there's so much to do on these ships. There's water slides and just all kinds of stuff. So I'm very excited about it, but I wanted to give a promo for that. So there you go. And you can sign up for a little while yet, but you want to check it out. horseradionetwork.com/cruise. Well, let's get into the topics for tonight there, ladies. Let me bring up the first topic here. And the first topic of the night is...
Hello, Putty Tat.
This is Tara's, I think, right? Tara?
Yes.
All right. So why don't you tell us what your topic was?
I might have thought differently about suggesting it if I knew I was going to do this. It was more just like kind of I believe there's similar things in different European countries, but
England
some type of overall certification to, I guess my thought is to just give some type of credibility to trainers because, I get contacted by friends of friends of friends who are like, oh, my kid wants to take this kind of lesson and where do I go to find a place? And like, I grew up with horses in my backyard and my parents both rode. So, we never had to go look for something like that, but there's really no way for non-horse people to know if where they're signing their child up to go spend time to learn how to ride a horse, if it's safe or if it's, how knowledgeable are they? What have they done? Do they have any type of, I don't know, I'm an HR person, so we'll go there, but like criminal history or any of those types of things. And so I feel like there, could be some advantage to having some type of overarching trainer certification.
I know they do in Europe and England. Does Germany? Germany has it too, right?
Germany does, and I know for sure Netherlands does because I worked with a couple of people that went through a huge program and like they do certifications, they do tests. Well, actually, yes, in Germany now I remember when I went to a barn, they would have certain days that they would do like, we're just testing today, so I wouldn't have lessons and it would just be people testing to get their next level up.
Now, let me throw in here, we do, a once a month episode with the Certified Horsemanship Association on horses in the morning, and that's a voluntary program, obviously. You
Right.
can get certified. So it's not like we don't have a structure in place in the country to do it, right? We do.
Right.
And I know Massachusetts has a trainer license program. It's less of a certification and more of a license, but you do have to take a test. And so they're, I don't know of any other states. That's the one I do know about because Jennifer had to take a test there.
Well, and I think like Pony Club has certifications, and I don't think 4-H actually has certifications, but USHJA has some type of, they had one and they're updating their trainer certification. So there's a lot of silos of it, I feel like, in the United States. But I grew up showing quarter horses and doing reining and the NRHA stuff, and reiners don't know hunter jumpers and vice versa.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? April, what do you think? Should there be
I would
national
definitely
certification?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I was just listening to another podcast on another episode where they were talking about how, as soon as money is being passed over, it's like you're a professional, and that's like that's how it certifies you as being a professional. So I definitely would like something like what Netherlands has or Germany. You're just kind of leveling up until you're being a professional.
Yeah, get outside the horse world, and most other things do require certifications to be a teacher or instructor, right?
Yeah. One of the only sports that doesn't have these crazy, certifications. And I am
a 1,000-pound animal that could very easily kill you.
Yeah.
Lindsey, what do you think?
So actually, when I read the question, my first thought was so I'm an eventer, I'm an English writer, and the way, at least in my area, where it's all word of mouth to start. But when I look for a dressage instructor, I look for someone who maybe already has their bronze or silver medal. And if I look for a jumping instructor, it's someone who's riding at the prelim level or higher. So I'm looking for someone that I know is experienced, but I know that lingo. Tara, I think your point about looking, people that are looking for beginner lessons for children, I think that's where this would be the most useful. And I think that's a really great idea. I think we've all, seen or experienced barns that, you might tell your friends, oh, look into XYZ, but don't go to that one. They're not safe.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, you don't know. And I think some kind of a certification standard program would be very beneficial for that.
Listeners are people who are joining us tonight. Please put in the comments what you think. I'd be interested to see what you think, because we have people here from Australia and the PEI and all over the country. So I'd be happy to see what you guys think and put that in the comments. But there's a whole bunch of problems with that too. Is
of course.
The CHA is set up for that, right? They're set up to do that in a bunch of different disciplines. You'd have to have a multiple discipline approach, obviously, because we have trainers in a lot of different things. Obviously, then money comes into play, right? So you're paying for certifications. So now you have people whining about that. And at what level do you do it for the heels down beginners? Trainers who are just doing it in their backyard and are doing 2 or 3. Or do you have a level where they have to be a certain level of trainer to get certified? There's a lot of questions and a lot of issues, right, that you have to deal with when you're putting a program like that together.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I work in human resources. And so, I think the basics of it are like running a background check. Do they have any, animal welfare complaints against them that have actually been prosecuted? There's those basic things like that. And, if you have horses, and I think kind of a basic would be if you have horses that other people are coming to ride and you're instructing people on them.
How about how do you police the whole thing?
Exactly.
Too? Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, so Lindsey decides to start giving archery lessons there in Virginia, and she has 4 or 5 students, and it's she's not going to pay $200 to go get certified. Besides, who would certify her for archery? So that certification's out in California because it's the only guy that does it, or actually Florida near me probably. But I'm just posing all the problems you have with that, right? So now, unless somebody complained about her, there's going to be no policing, right? Who's going to know?
Right. I mean, unless you went on, for a lot of things, for like specific events, I would think you could do like if you've achieved a certain level of performance, like you've competed at, and won, I don't, because that's kind of how dressage in the levels, as I understand the bronze, silver, whatever, like you've scored a certain thing at a certain whatever. which gives you a little bit of credibility there, at least, you know. And I think, like, to your point, Glenn, it's much harder when you're doing, you know, the up down lessons, because I mean, I know a lot of people who were giving up down lessons when they were in high school.
Do you know how it was structured in the Netherlands and in Germany?
It was almost like it started as soon as you were a rider, and then like if you wanted to go, like when you were beginning riding, and if you wanted to eventually become a trainer, you had to keep continuing that education. It started almost like Pony Club that continued on, because
It is
you're
almost
starting
the
at
levels like Pony Club has, it right? You know,
Yeah.
all through the levels. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's more pervasive through the German culture, isn't it? Just horse riding
Yeah.
in general.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going to one of their lesson barns, and like each horse has at least their own saddle, if not two saddles. Like it's very structured.
Yeah.
Are there backyard horse trainers that just do 3 or 4 people and that's it? Or are they all the more structured?
There's probably a couple that do like the backyard, especially when you get more into like the Western discipline over in Germany, because
Yeah.
they're still trying to figure it out
Mhm.
with that. So
Do you know if they're
but-
certified, the Western side?
I don't think they are though. I know a lot of Americans go over there and like for cutting, they use like dairy cows, and the whole time you hear all the Americans yelling at the Germans like, "No, turn this way, turn that way." So it's
That
still
would be pretty
learning. Yeah, it was kind of entertaining.
Yeah,
So,
some of those European countries are really doing well in reining. So, you know,
Mhm.
they've
Yeah.
really picked up
Germany's
in the
done
reining
pretty well
side.
for a long time. Germany and
Yeah.
Italy, I feel
Germany
like.
and
Italy,
Belgium.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh yeah, Italy.
In
If you go to
Italy.
watch them do rein cow horse or cutting,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, they cheer louder than any crowd I've ever heard. They really get into the
Do you think it's
Italians.
the wine or the beer or
They're
I just think the loudness of Western riding like fits the Italian culture.
Yes.
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 I apologize for anyone I've insulted.
Any other comments on this topic? What do you think?
I would say my only other comment is that this is kind of a, slight sidebar, but one thing that I would really like to see in the U.S. is like a farrier certification requirement. I know that they do require that in other countries as well. And I think we've all seen, someone who you can buy a few tools and call yourself a farrier, and you can really hurt a horse if you don't know what you're doing. So I think some kind of certification for that as well would be a step in the right direction.
I know that's been talked about. It's obviously not been made mandatory, but I know it's been talked about. I think we're probably going to see that before we see the other.
For sure.
Right.
I agree.
I think
Yeah.
we're a long ways away from trainer.
Yeah, a long
I
ways
think we're
away.
getting closer to the farrier for sure, with the schools and such coming.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Let's head over to our next question right after I talk to you about arena saddles. They're perfect in any arena. Arena saddles are available in dressage, and also they are available in jumping, all-purpose, and they're classically crafted from beautiful European leather. With meticulous attention to detail, you will turn heads in any arena with the confidence that your saddle is comfortable for you and your horse. Whether you're nailing your canter transition at sea, perfecting the 5-stride line in the 3-foot division, or galloping the countryside with Tara and jumping the jumps following the hounds, there's a perfect arena saddle for you. Go to arenasaddles.com and learn more. And also you can find a retailer there. There are retailers all over the country, all over the world for that matter. That's arenasaddles.com. And we thank them for sponsoring the roundtable. All right, let's go to the next question. And I think this question was Lindsey's.
Yeah, so anyone who has heard me talk on the show before or has seen me in the Auditor room, plug for the Auditor room, it's awesome, knows that my current horse is affectionately nicknamed Dammit Rocket because he has some kind of cosmic propensity to find the most creative ways to hurt himself and just generally get out of doing work. He really enjoys being a pasture puff. But I think one thing that people don't talk about a lot is the emotional toll of, not being able to go to that horse show or having to go to the barn every day and wrap a leg when your friends are riding and you can't, or even just getting a diagnosis that might change your long-term plans for you and your horse's life together. So I think that that's something, again, that we don't talk about as much, that I've been thinking a lot about lately. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I feel like I'm gonna like 5,000 bajillion% jinx myself here. So I don't know, knock on whatever. I'll do a seance later or something. But I've been really pretty fortunate, and I've had horses my whole life. My mom college rodeoed. My dad broke broncs out in the middle of the prairie of Montana. And I just really haven't had a lot of missed time due to illness or injury with my horses. And I, and actually it's something I've thought about a lot. I don't know if it's luck or like, and growing up as a kid, we put our horses out on 20 sections in the winter, which if you know what that is, it's 20 square miles. And I felt like that made them a little hardier. And I've had little things here and there, but not anything that's been like endemically chronic to deal with. But you see so much conversation in the auditor room and in like I'm in the Plaid Horse amateur group and a couple of other amateur groups. And it's really psychologically difficult, especially when, we horse people get our identity from our horses. And when you take that away,
I'll tell you where it's really tough. It's really tough, and we saw this when we had our boarding stable. It's really tough when the person can afford one horse, and now that horse is chronic and can't be used for what they had initially intended it for, whether it was showing or just trail riding or whatever. And now you've got a horse that you're really obligated to. You can't sell it. Nobody's going to take it. You're paying board on it, and you can't afford a second. And now you're screwed.
Yeah.
Well, and I fit that category. I am the most amateur whoever amatured. And I did not come up with that. I believe I got it from the Plaidcast podcast lounge. They're very funny in there. But, I just have the one horse, and the barn is supposed to be my happy place. And my horse is supposed to be my therapy time for myself. So what can you do when that becomes a source of stress or maybe not even stress, but it's just not as emotionally fulfilling as it was when, say, you were perfecting whatever goal you were working on that week, and you can see progress each time you ride. When you can't work towards that, sometimes it can be very draining.
Well, if it's not stress, it's disappointing. I mean, it's just disappointing, right? Yeah.
Well, I know
it's financially draining too, right?
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I've been very fortunate too that I haven't had too many setbacks myself with my horses. But I know Stacy Westfall mentioned it in one of her episodes too. Is then that gave her time to like build her relationship with her horse. Like that was the only positive that came really with it. And then when it was time to ride the horse and such, then your relationship's even stronger, and you kind of have a better riding experience sometimes.
But it also helps when you have other horses in the barn, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that helps a bit too. I mean, Stacy's got other horses in the barn.
Yeah.
So,
I only have one horse too. So I
not to take away from, what it's like with that horse, right? But if you have others, that helps a little. Lindsey, if you had 2 or 3 horses, this would be helping right now, right?
Yeah.
Knowing my luck, all 2 or 3 would be lame at the same time anyway. I'm not sure it matters.
Unfortunately, too, with that lameness and that heartbreak comes the large vet bill before you determine what the final lameness is. So not only do you have a lame horse, you're paying off the vet for 6 months. So that doesn't help.
No.
Now, Jennifer's going through it right now. I mean, Nigel's been laid up for a couple of weeks, and I see how grumpy she gets. So, dealing with it every day, it makes you darn grumpy. It just makes you grumpy.
Well, and going back to, the barn being your therapy, it has been this month in particular, Rocket has been out of commission. But it's both lucky and unlucky. I'm at a very large boarding barn, close to DC. Very few people have their own property. So we have 40 horses at this barn. But what that means is there's always someone to commiserate with. With 40 horses, there's always at least 2 or 3 that are injured with something going on. And one of my good girlfriends is going through a similar problem with her horse right now. So there's been a lot of, cocktail nights at the barn and complaining about these damn horses. And sometimes misery loves company, and that's what you have to do to deal with it.
What do you do? Let's switch it around a little bit. Jamie wanted to meet my co-host on the Horses in the Morning show. Is just had surgery on her shoulder, so she's out of action. So what happens if the rider is injured? Is it worse for the horse to be injured or you to be injured? And you're out of commission both ways, right? You're not riding either way. But
and I think even
which is mentally worse.
We're all females, and April's about to have a layup for a while because anytime you have a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So in Germany, it wasn't too bad because I wasn't with him, but I did stop riding earlier on when I was in Germany because I was riding different horses every week. And I was like, okay, I don't trust that as much. And now I'm still riding right now, but I know eventually I'm going to stop. So I'm not looking forward to that. Especially I had a lot of goals this year for my horse and then when I found this out, I was like, darn, there goes those goals.
Damn,
so I had to
kids.
switch them.
Look what those kids do to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think it would be harder for me to be laid up than it would be for my horse to be laid up. And I am fortunate in that I have, y'all are going to like way judge me, but I have 3 horses, a baby Chincoteague pony, a pony, and a donkey. So, if something's, not rideable, there's something to do with something else kind of always. But if I'm hurt or injured, I think I would go nuts.
Yeah,
and my husband might
knock on
put me
something
out
for
on the
all of
street.
you, all of us at this point.
Well, and I would actually, to counterpoint that, with Rocket being out of commission, I've been gaining a lot of weight too. So he's been enjoying being a pasture puff, but I don't want to go to the gym right now. So my only form of exercise has gone away. So in some ways, I think it would be worse for him to be injured rather than me, because I'm at such a big barn with lots of people that I trust. It would be very easy to keep him going. And then hopefully it would just take me a few days to pick up right back where I left off. Hopefully. Whereas I know getting him back in shape when we recover from this latest mishap might take a little longer. And it's going to be both of us getting back in shape instead of just one of us.
Can you ride other horses at your barn?
I could. They're all privately owned. So a few of my friends have offered, yes, but scheduling has been challenging. I've mostly been doing a lot of clicker training with Rocket that I learned about through various podcasts on the Horse Radio Network. So he's been really enjoying all of the extra carrots that he's been getting doing that. And that has definitely strengthened our relationship. And I'm sure that when I do get back in the saddle, it can only help.
Yeah, because there's one of the comments that talks about it's a good time to do groundwork, which I definitely agree with that. My mare's 9 and I've had her since she was 6 months old, and I did not do as much groundwork with her as I should have. She's kind of a monster. So
so what do you do when you're laid up? April, you're going to be off for a couple of months. Do you get other people to ride your horse, or do you just...
Yeah, I was going to reach out to one of the gals that's stationed here and doesn't have a horse. And I was going to see if she was interested in riding him. And then I'm also, I work with Lindsey Partridge on Harming Horsemanship. And so I have all of those courses and such. So I'm probably going to play around with a lot of the ground exercises and trick training and such.
Didn't she just have kids too?
Right around the same time. And she's pregnant again, and she's due like a week or 2 after me.
Look at that.
It works out well for work wise and clients and stuff. So.
Is your
and
horse
those that are
stabled on
watching
base?
have gotten to see the animals going through the shots. Lindsay's big, huge yellow cat just went right through.
This TJ.
I keep my
another
horse
dog. Tara, is there a breed of dog you don't have?
A breed? I don't do labs.
I don't do labs.
I don't do labs.
They're too boring.
I have a lab, although she hasn't come to say
They
hi.
eat your house for 2 years.
Mine's perfect.
That is the exception.
And not
I do foster too, so I get a lot of in and outs.
All right, let's head on to the next question. I don't know that we solved anything with that one, but I don't think there is a solution. It's, if your horse is lame, sometimes you can catch ride, sometimes you can find something else to ride, and that does help. That definitely does help.
It's not the same.
Well, I think like with Jamie's situation, not to delay progress, but I think with something like that, you don't really know what to expect in terms of what's the pain level going to be like and how soon are you going to get back to it. And I imagine Jamie's like, I'm ready to feel better now. Let's go. But it still hurts. And so I think something like that would be really frustrating.
She's a little grumpy pre-show. I will say the grumpiness level has been going up a little. But then I was grumpy when I was sick too. So, I mean, we all get a little grumpy when, when that's happening.
Well, and not to take up too much of my time. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
But
Your
I
time.
would say that, sometimes these kind of disappointments, you literally have to like go through the stages of grief with them.
Yeah.
And I know like with my situation, there's been a decent amount of like anger, like why didn't I catch something sooner? Or, why did I pay for that horse show and then we couldn't go because we had an abscess 3 days before? That I think that's, very normal to acknowledge that. Yes, at the end of the day, a healthy horse is all that really matters, and a healthy human, of course. But there can be a very wide variety of emotions associated with that, and it is very okay to whine and moan to your friends about it. Maybe clear it with them first. Jamie, feel free to send me a message.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of it, Jamie. Send Lindsey a message.
But it's tough, and there's a wide variety of emotions that we have to work through there. And if all else fails, grab a cocktail, head to the barn, and whine to your girlfriends.
What do you do in the situation I brought up? Let's talk about that a minute. You got the one horse, you can't afford a second on board because your board's so high to begin with, and you're going to keep this horse. You have no choice, right? Morally and ethically. This horse is going to retire with you. Maybe you can get a little bit cheaper board. That's one option, is to look for a little bit of, a pasture board that's cheaper, or whatever you can do regarding the horse's health. Doesn't need a lot of maintenance or whatever. So you got to get creative, right? I mean, you have to find a horse outlet, and if that's catch riding or seeing if you can find a lease of some kind. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I would say, you have to switch directions a little bit, maybe with your own horse. Even if he's not rideable, look into clicker training. They have lots of unmounted competitions now even that you can do. Maybe your horse can't jump anymore. Great time to earn that bronze medal in dressage, or even, explore a Western discipline that you've always been interested in. There's such a wide horse world out there. There's lots of things that you can do, even if you can't run and jump or cut at quite the same level that you used to be able to.
And I think that's true in a lot of senses, not even in just, your horse being injured and maybe having to change its career. But I've seen lots of people buy, this horse moves beautifully and it's going to be an amazing hunter, and it stinking hates the hunter ring for whatever reason. But it might really love, and of course, fox hunting or something like that. And I feel like because I have such a diverse horsey background, like I bought my first thoroughbred, he just turned 14 yesterday, and I bought him when he was a yearling. And my shtick with him was my dad had died and I needed, something emotionally to whatever. And I was like, he'll tell me what he wants to do. Like, we trail rode. He didn't like that. We fox hunted. He really didn't like that. He liked the hunter ring. Like that ended up where he was really happy. And I was happy to let him try different stuff. And I think when your horse is laid up like that, you maybe just have to, change kind of what your goals are. And obviously this would be an incredibly difficult thing if like it's not rideable and it's not old, because then you're faced with a, kind of even a much more difficult decision of like, do you try to find a retirement place? And we've all heard the horror stories of that. And, I'm pretty fortunate in that my family in Montana have lots of acres. And I feel like if I needed to go park something, I could, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Let's head on before we get to our final question, which we're going to talk about the impact social media has on the horse world. There's a topic for you right now after the last year. Before we get to that, I want to give everybody a little plug. So, Tara, you are a host of the Horses in the Morning Fox Hunting episode, the third Thursday of the month, right?
Yes. Third Thursday.
What do you guys talk about? You and my wife, Jennifer, do that show.
Yeah, just really one of the things that I really like to highlight on the show, just because what I hear the most from non-fox hunters is, and I was 100% in this group of people, I had no idea you could fox hunt in the United States of America until 2010. And so just I like to interview people who have come to the sport from various backgrounds, and I like to talk to people who, ride like Friesians and saddlebreds and horses that you don't customarily think of in the hunt field. And then we also talk to hunt, leadership about things that are going on and the challenges that fox hunts face. And I don't know, it's I would quit every kind of riding if I had to pick. I would just continue doing only fox hunting. I love it.
I learned a lot from that show. A lot of cool things about fox hunting. And then we went to a drag hunt in Germany, and that was pretty cool to watch.
Yes. I think they only drag hunt in Germany.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Yeah. And I know Jennifer loves doing that show with you too, because
we have a good time.
Her passion. That's still her passion.
Well, there's not to take up too much time, but the fun thing about fox hunting that I really enjoy is like there's been this ongoing conversation about wearing burgundy coats in the hunters, and I'm like, y'all, the hunters are based on fox hunting. You cannot wear a burgundy coat in the hunt field because it's too close to red. That answers your question.
So pink is okay, or orange?
But they call it pink. It's not actually pink. It's red.
It's not actually pink. No.
They're just trying to get away from
with purple. We'll go with purple from now on. Boy, talk about.
And I'm not a crazy traditionalist, but I like the pomp and circumstance of the tradition.
Over there.
Which is funny considering I grew up on ranches in Montana.
You live in Texas, so there you go.
Yeah.
April, tell everybody about your show.
Yes, so we have Rein in the Herd, or Rein in Your Herd, and it's a business podcast for equine businesses. And we pretty much talk a lot about strategy on, multiple social media platforms, but we also talk about mindset, pricing, and all the fun things that a lot of horse people don't want to talk about with their businesses.
It is a very, I love the business side of things, and I listen to your show because I just love to geek out on that kind of stuff. So it's very well done. You two know what you're talking about. Or wouldn't have had you on the Horse Radio Network if you didn't. So,
and who are we kidding? Horse people just are not business people.
No.
Yeah.
That's why they need April right there. Yeah. And Lindsey, give another plug. If people are in your area, where can they go to get some archery done?
Yeah, so my club is called the Mounted Archers of the Potomac. We are located in Fairfax County, Virginia. We spill over a little bit into Maryland, DC area in general. You can find us on Facebook under Mounted Archers of the Potomac. We are unfortunately in a bit of a hiatus due to COVID. But one unique thing about our club that is not true of all the other horse archery clubs in the U.S. is you do not have your own horse to participate. We share horses, which is one reason why we are on a hiatus due to COVID. But so at a normal practice, we will have approximately 2 people for every 1 horse. So that enables a lot of people in this area who might only take lessons or lease horses to be able to participate with us. So as of last winter, we were averaging 15 to 20 people at every practice, which was very exciting. Looking forward to getting back to that very soon. And if you'd like any information on equipment or how to get started or find a mounted archery club in your area, feel free to shoot me a Facebook message at Mounted Archers of the Potomac.
Very good. Hey, is it when Tammy Sarantz has been a host on our shows over the years, and she's one of the top mounted shooters in the world. She has like 200 belt buckles on her wall. It's ridiculous. But she says she can't hit anything when she's standing on the ground. She can only hit when she's moving. Is that true of you and your bow?
I'm the same way, actually, and it's basically because you don't have time to think when you're moving.
Oh, that's a good point.
I've actually always wanted to try mounted shooting, but in Fairfax County, Virginia, at a boarding barn of 40, I don't think they'd be terribly excited about me doing that in the indoor arena, but they don't mind too much with the bow and arrows. So
I just bought my own revolvers.
Did you? Yeah?
Yep, for mounted shooting, and then I have my bow for mounted archery too, because I did that in Washington when we were stationed up there.
This
some of the
brings up
people
a good
that
point too, and that's to try new stuff. Lindsey heard about mounted archery on our show, and then just decided to find it. Right, went out and found it. Try new stuff, do something different. Jennifer loved. She took a couple polo lessons, and she thought that she
so
she wasn't
hard.
It's hard.
It
She wasn't
is.
good. It was funny to watch, but they had a blast. They were laughing. Her and Helena were out there just having a great time, whacking at nothing. I don't know that they ever touched the ball, but they had fun.
I played polo in an undergrad at the University of Virginia, and it destroyed any semblance of equitation I might have once had. But oh my gosh, it is, Tara, I think it's right up there with fox hunting. Is about the most fun you can have on a horse.
We had my hunt here in Texas. There's a bunch of polo players who they keep their horses legged up during fox hunting season because it's in between their polo seasons.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's how I've gone out and played a few times, and I was pretty good at sports, so I was really stunk at the whole hand-eye thing. I was surprised.
My husband said it was golfing on horseback. He loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to encourage everybody to try is if you ever get a chance to drive a horse or one or two, do that. I think it's fun. Jamie tried it and hated it, but a lot of riders try it and don't like it. Jennifer doesn't feel secure in the cart. She doesn't like it in the cart. She thinks it's too dangerous.
It's a different change, for sure.
This is a girl that's broken every bone in her body once. So, riding and, but I can see that, I had a horse, or my pony bolted for a while. He's getting better about that now, but bolting on the road, going into the passing lane, the oncoming traffic's not fun. But we're still here,
Glenn, have I ever told you when I was a kid, my dad had a black Surrey with the fringe on top?
Did he really?
And I had a black horse that I showed him for his name very originally was Midnight. And he pulled the buggy in the parade every year.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We've been in
I'm
parades.
telling you,
It's
I've
fun.
done a lot of random stuff.
You have. You've tried the things. See? You've tried the things.
Yeah.
I want to give Julie Valou a shout out here. She is in Mongolia right now. She says that she's enjoying the conversation immensely as I'm in lockdown here in Mongolia and can't get out to my horses. Oh, Julie.
No.
She's been on
Well,
the
I'm
shows
curious,
before.
is Julie like a resident Mongolian or like
No, I think she was over there. Were you over? Julie, help me out. Were you over to do another competition over there? Or are you living there now? I can't remember. I know we've had her on the show. I can't remember which it was. But let me know, Julie, which it was.
because it's also probably not warm.
No, right now I don't
No,
imagine.
I
Well, I
wouldn't
guess it
think
depends
so.
where you are. It's a big country, so I don't know.
But it's
I don't know.
I think
far
they're in the
north,
winter.
all of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in the summertime, I think it's still chilly
Yeah.
there.
Well, Julie, if you're still watching, let us know what the story is in Mongolia. We want to know. All right,
Lindsey and
let's
I
go
are
to
on
our
the
final
menagerie.
question, and this one was brought in by April, and she just wants to stir things up here. We're not talking politics. We'll leave that out of this conversation.
I just wanted to show off my perfect Labrador real quick.
Oh, there's the perfect Labrador. What's the
This is
perfect
Maya.
Labrador's name?
Come here.
Maya, she
Maya.
is a rescue. We brought her home when she was about 2, but she's utterly perfect. Like Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way.
She looks perfect. Oh,
She's a
Julie
very
said
good
she lives
girl.
there now in Mongolia, not too warm at all.
Minus
recently.
45.
Minus 45.
Oh,
That's Montana.
Although getting warmer now. I had to choose the kind of between Canada and Mongolia, and she chose Mongolia because her horses are here.
Are they Mongolian horses or non-Mongolian horses?
We need to get her on the show.
Right?
She says she's working on the foundation work and praying the borders open soon so people can come and ride with her again. So
Very
there you go.
interesting.
Very cool.
Julie,
Have
we
some-
need to get you on this show sometime, and we need to see you live from
Yeah.
Mongolia. We need to do that. She always says
Yeah.
internet, so probably better than ours.
How funny.
All right, April, stir it up a bit.
All right. So I know I was trying to figure out the best topic to pick, but I decided what is social media, the impact on the horse world with social media. I know there's good and bad, of course, with like most things. So of course the good is that you get to share all your fun, updates with your horses and such. But then there's hot topics like whether or not with brand ambassadors for a lot of horseback riders, they were trying to make them professionals under USEF. And so that was a huge topic when it comes to, working with brands and being a rider and such, because, everybody's trying to make some money with their favorite hobby, but not can be considered a professional. So that was a huge topic that went down recently with social media.
An example of good that just happened today, and that's the Land Rover is going to go on with their 5-star, still without spectators, but they raised $600,000 in a matter of 4 or 5 days, and that was actually a grassroots effort. That wasn't the organization that runs it, and we're talking about the Land Rover Kentucky
3-day event.
3-day event.
Yeah.
So, that was something good that happened in a very short period of time because of a grassroots thing. And then we're all on those web pages that talk about horses where, there's just so much fighting. It's ridiculous. So there is good and bad, but, I think you can self-regulate what you look at, too.
Right.
I mean, you can choose to be in those rooms or not choose to be in those rooms. We're lucky in our auditor room, which is our super fan room. It's a very positive and upbeat place, and where they talk about anything, not just horses, but life, So, and they talk about it there because it's safe and positive. And I think if you're in a private room, that all comes down to the organizers of the room and how they run the room, right? So, I think that the auditor room is pretty good because we make sure it is, right? We make sure it's a positive, safe place. And then people kind of self-regulate. I very seldom have to take a post down. I mean, maybe once a month. So, the rules and you self-regulate because you're going to get your ass kicked out. All of a sudden you're better about it. Lindsey, you've been through a lot of this different stuff. What do you think? What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, for starters, I love the auditor room. You're totally right about that self-regulating. There are a lot of Facebook groups that I've either left or I've muted, and they just don't come up on my feed. I mean, kind of going back to even my topic, you have to protect your mental health. And if you're scrolling through Facebook and all you're seeing, or Instagram or whatever, and the only thing that you're seeing is negativity and people piling on top of each other, that's just, it wears on your soul after a while.
Right.
And places like the auditor room where people are uplifting and positive and encouraging and supporting, that's really important. And also, I mean, going back to the cruise and everything, being able to keep up with my buddies from the cruise while we've been in lockdown and haven't been able to visit anyone has been really awesome. And in some ways, I feel like I have definitely leaned on my Facebook friends more during lockdown. I'm traveling less. I'm seeing my real life friends less. So you have to communicate with what you have. And that's been a lot of, Messenger on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat. The auditors actually have a little Snapchat group that we have a lot of fun with. Kayla Binney is very active in there.
But I think one really positive that for me has come out of social media, both Instagram and Facebook. I don't do Twitter. I definitely don't do TikTok and Snapchat. I'm too old. But I connected with a lot of I connected with a lot of non-white writers during the Black Lives Matter, the stuff after George Floyd, and I've actually cultivated some pretty not close, but just relationships with people who I never would have met otherwise, who obviously have a hugely different life perspective from me because they're LGBTQ or they're, Black or there's some other race that's in the equestrian world. And all of us who are active in the equestrian world, I mean, I hardly ever see someone who's not white. And it's exciting and it's normalized it for me to see non-white people in the saddle and in a horse like environment. And I feel like now when I see non-white people at horse shows, when we can actually leave our house, it's made it more customary to me. And I feel like I won't act like an idiot because I've connected with these other people and, I've communicated with them and asked them questions and stuff. So I feel like I'm better educated about, the challenges that they face in the horse world.
I feel like that's a really excellent point. I think social media in that way can really be used to project the voices of people that might otherwise get lost in the shuffle, whether those might be people of color or people of minorities for any various reason. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's a great way to connect with them and support them, even if maybe they're not at your barn or you don't see them at your local show. You can still support people that are different from you and help their platform reach others.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Even Texans? Do we have to support Texans? Does that count? I don't know.
Well, then somebody wrote in the comments, have you seen You Vendors Unite?
Yes.
Are y'all in that group?
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And
I've
I
been
love that
invited
group.
to it 3 times, and I continue to decline it because I can't stand watching crashes.
Yeah, Jennifer
Oh,
can't either.
I
She
haven't
can't
been
watch
in
them
that
either.
group.
She
Most of
you
them
know,
are
when those
very
videos were
funny
out where all the crashes,
crashes.
she could never watch them. She was,
Yeah, no.
it was
I
too
can't
close to
watch
home.
them. I cringe too much.
You know,
Even if they're not funny to me, I just
I'm going to be self-serving here. We're all together because of social media. Really, podcasts
Absolutely.
are social media. Now, they started before we called it social media back in the day, but it's a form of social media, right? I mean, and we are all as close as we are. I have thousands of friends around. Look at Julie over there in Mongolia, right? I have
Right.
thousands of friends around the world because of social media. And
Right.
what social media has done is allowed us to develop communities that we would have never done otherwise. Can you all imagine? Sit back and think. You're probably too young. Even Tara's too young for this. But sit back and imagine pre-internet if we had had COVID pre-internet. Imagine
been
how isolating
horrible.
that would have been.
Oh my goodness.
It would have been horrible. And
I
first
grew
of
up in
all, you
Eastern
got your
Montana,
news
so
at 6 o'clock at night, no other time, because there were no other news, right? 6 o'clock at night or the newspaper in the morning, and that was your news. And you had no contact. To call people, you had to pay long distance charges, cost you a fortune. So you wouldn't be calling mom in another state. It would have been unbelievably difficult.
Wow. Yeah.
I think this
I-
year has been very challenging, even with all the technology that we have at our disposal. I honestly don't even want to entertain that thought. It's a little too scary.
Imagine doing it without Netflix and Tiger King. I mean,
Mm-mm.
we would all killed ourselves.
I know, Glenn. I don't have either of those 2 things.
You have 10 dogs. You have no time for anything but feeding and cleaning after dogs. But it is true. I mean, we're all here together, and the auditor room and the listeners around the world, and all of that exists. So there have been these whole communities built. And I think they're somewhat online, but we all do get to meet each other every once in a while, which is then exceptionally fun. And I can't wait to do that again. Lindsey, I'm going to tackle you and give you a great big hug next time I see you.
Sounds great.
It's just been so long. But yeah, so I mean. So there is a huge positive. I think sometimes we overlook that when we're all bickering about politics. Now, it has caused divisiveness that I don't think has ever happened before either.
Yes.
Right.
So
I
we're not going to dive into what politics was what, but there are families that are ripped apart. In my case too, there are families that are ripped apart because of the whole Republican Democrat politics thing.
Well, Glenn, safe sport.
Well,
Yeah.
safe sport's another one. And
I mean,
we don't have
that's
to argue about its
practically
merits.
politics.
It just has. It
I
is
just
political.
happened too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything like that becomes political. Whether it started out political, it becomes political. So yeah,
Yep.
there are those things that if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't have had There was always division, but I don't think we would have had the level of division because you didn't know what everybody else thought, unless you sat
Well, and the
down at dinner
algorithms
with them and
seem to
argued
I was
about
make
it.
just
it
going to
worse.
say the algorithms make it so much worse.
Make it worse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I maybe would have known April from something I had met her, but I didn't know her political thing because I don't talk to her every day before social media. I wouldn't have known how she felt about that, nor would I have probably cared because I'm not talking to her every day. So it is true that that's allowed that to happen. I don't know how you overcome that. I think we're past that now.
Yeah,
We've
well, especially
flown the
because like
coop
the
on that.
like we were saying, like the algorithms and how they've almost made that division happen. So unless those were taken away, I don't think that's ever going to really be solved.
But even if those
in
are
a way.
taken away and you see everybody's that is your friend's post on Facebook, you're still going to disagree with half of them. So, and then the wars are going to start. So, even without the algorithms, you're still going to, if you saw everything, I don't know if that'd be better or worse.
Well, it's
I don't
almost
know.
like you're purposely seeing certain things that will set you off because that's what you've been liking and such. So that's what you keep seeing and that's what you keep arguing with. So that's what the algorithm has done. I think some of that would be calmed down without having that crazy.
I did that with the unfollow button on my Facebook feed. Now I only see pretty pictures of horses and dogs.
Unfollowing, and I think I muted some people for 30 days or such. So
I did that with several people who were really adamant about posting, but then 30 days came around. I was like, oh man, they're still doing it. They're still posting the same thing.
Yeah, at that point, I'm like, maybe I should just unfriend them.
I tried. And then you feel
I
guilty,
unfollowed a
right?
lot of people.
Yeah.
You feel guilty because it's probably a good friend that otherwise you get along with great, but you just don't want to see those daily postings, and you unfollow them, and then you feel guilty, and for 10 minutes.
Well, I genuinely enjoy discourse with people with opposing viewpoints if it's intellectually presented and it's not combative.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get sucked into reading the comments under that person's post, and that's what pisses you off. right there.
Yeah.
It's the
that's
comments
true.
of the other person. And Lindsay's over there blushing because
Hey, what are you implying?
you look like you're blushing.
Well, clearly
actually-
Desiree needs to listen to the Fox Hunting Show
Yes, Desiree, you should.
next Thursday.
Yep. Third Thursday of the month, right? On Horses in the Morning. Sorry, Lindsay.
Well, actually, I'm thinking about, political discourse and just things that divide us. I was thinking about, being close to Washington, D.C., again, with a barn full of 40 people, there is, as you can imagine, a very wide variety
I would
of
imagine.
political opinions. But what unites us all is that we all love our horses. And one unique thing actually about my barn, we cover literally every discipline. Every type of saddle and bit is in our tack room. Everyone does, anything. We have a Civil War reenactor. I do mounted archery. We run the whole gambit, and no one cares what kind of riding you do, as long as you love your horse and you take proper care of your horse. And at the end of the day, we all have that in common, whether we're online or we're all together. And I think that's one reason why the Auditor Room is such a wonderful place. Plugging it again. If you're not an auditor, you totally should be. It's the best place on the internet. But, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, maybe who you voted for or what your political beliefs are. We all love our horses, and we all want what's best for them. And maybe we disagree a little bit about how to say hoof or hoof or, if they should wear shoes or not. But, when you look at the big picture, we all have that unites us.
I think we have to end on that. Let's not add anything else to that. I think that's a perfect way to end this episode.
Yeah, I agree.
It is absolutely perfect. Thank you guys for being here. As Tara said, she's the fourth Thursday of the month on Horses in the Morning. Third Thursday of the month on Horses in the Morning. That's next week, actually. She'll be on with Jennifer talking fox hunting again. April, of course, is in Rein in Your Herd, and that is a business show that's also on the Horse Radio Network. You can find it on all the podcasting apps. Lindsay can be found at
Mounted Archers of the Potomac on Facebook.
Mounted Archers of the Potomac. I can be found at horsesinthemorning.com. And thank you all for joining us. If you missed any part of this episode, you can hear the rest of it tomorrow morning. It'll be out on audio on the Stable Scoop feed, or you can go back and watch the video. It'll just be up there on all the different pages. We love your feedback. If you want to be on this panel at some point, we do these shows every 2 weeks. Let me know. Drop me an email at glenn@horseradionetwork.com, and we'll get you on a panel. If you have an idea for a topic, all you have to do is email me too, and we'll cover that topic. We take on the more serious topics here on this show. That's what this show was designed for. Thank you, three. Really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us.
All right,
nice.
take care, everybody. See you in a couple of
Bye.
weeks.
Bye.